Well, it's a nice little Wednesday morning. Bitcoin is still struggling around 70,000 bucks. I feel like barely fuck all has happened in the past month and a half to 2 months now. We've just been waiting around like complete fucking fools, But luckily, we've been paying attention to other markets, of which gold is actually the one that's moving, the one that's having the real stuff going on recently. And of course, a pretty epic bounce here. You know, we were looking for a bounce off of the low $4,000 number. And I think I don't want to sound like a complete fucking asshole right now, but I think it's going to be very, very, very important to pay attention to on this bounce. What message are you talking about? All right, I'll get your fucking message. All right, Jesus Christ. Elsa just has to interrupt me. Just has to fucking interrupt me. As usual. As fucking usual. Now, I want to tell you, I had a really good night's sleep last night because our lovely little Rosie dog laid in the bed with us, which might have been a mistake. I'm not sure if we should actually be having a dog in the bed. It seems wrong. It seems gross, but she's too cute. I can't say no to her. She sits down, she looks at me with these big, beady fucking eyes, and your heart melts. You can't do anything about it. So I let her in the bed, and now I'm actually sleeping quite well. So perhaps she stays in the bed. What do you think, Elsa? Do you think we should remove her or we should keep her? Nope. I was just asking for rhetorical purposes. That's all. Anyways, the point that I was trying to work to before I was so rudely interrupted on gold was, on this bounce, I think it's going to be really, really important to pay attention to the people who get, extremely optimistic, extremely bullish on this. Now, I do think that this bounce is going to go higher and probably like a lot higher, honestly. And ultimately, I think it's going to fail. I mean, ultimately, I think that this is extremely likely to fail, but you're going to see the same shit here that you saw in Bitcoin when Bitcoin had its first major bounce or actually this would be the second major bounce after putting in its macro high. Now, this is probably more applicable to previous cycles because the cycle of, it seems like there's been a lot of apathy, honestly. But with gold, I have the same feeling that you're going to see the exact same human emotions that we see across the land, just applied to gold in this case, and just a really, 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 really good case study that, hey, at the end of the day, all of this shit works more or less the same. It's not the same, but it's very, 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 very similar. At the end of the day, we're all fucking humans. We're all humans. We're all dealing with human machinery in our psychology. And that gives us a lot more in common than we probably want to give credence to. And ultimately, what you're feeling is probably what I'm feeling and what the next guy's feeling as well. So you can usually trust in those and also use those as sort of markers to know kind of, when not to pay attention to that, because you'll know a lot of other people are going to give into that, as is typical. Yeah, dogs are the best. Dogs really are the best, man. I fucking love dogs. They're great. I'm considering just relenting on all life, moving out to the boonies and having, I don't know, what do you want? 10 dogs, Elsa? 20 dogs? Fucking just a whole goddamn dog farm. Don't even want to sell them. Just keep them all. Just, they can stay there and just prance around and, do dog shit, I guess, all day. It's great stuff, man. Great stuff indeed. What's up, Haplon? Good morning to you as well, man. Simps be simping, of which I'm the biggest simp. What's up, Mr. Alex here? It's been a long time, man. Jim Foreman says dogs are the best. Indeed, they are. The real God, I almost said the real Mumford. The real Morford. My dog slept with me every night for the 12 years he blessed me on this earth. Yeah, man. I remember when I was a kid too, I had this white lab or yellow lab. Yeah, yellow lab, I think it was. Her name was Shasta. And I think we pretty much had her like as far as I can remember. And we would sleep together every fucking night, man. She would be my pillow. It was amazing. She was great. We had this big backyard. I'd go in the backyard. I'd hit baseball or not baseballs. I'd use my baseball bat to hit tennis balls to her. She'd go and run it. She fucking loved it because labs love that shit. And I was enjoying it too because I love baseball. So yeah, man. Anyways, can you do commodities? I mean, I can look at some commodities for sure. Some commodities do trade definitely for sure. I don't necessarily like oil and gas, these sort of things. I don't think that I have a great read on. In fact, I should probably check on it because crude light, last I heard, was rallying. But let's see, it's actually a rally. No, it's not. Wait, what the fuck? This is the problem. You can't even God. Oh my fucking God. I saw like multiple comments this morning about how people were like, dude, oil's on the way to 150 or 200, bro. This war is going on for forever. It's like, it's the same fucking thing, man. These doomers, these fucking doom porners, they are not in reality. Like, oh, how many fucking times have I seen this shit? How many fucking times have I heard this shit? Unlikely. I still stick with my top call over here. Although, hey, if I'm going to be wrong in anything, it's going to be fucking oil and gas because I suck at that shit. It's very politically driven. It's very much event driven. And so, I don't really trust tentacles that much on it. But It is funny, just the stuff that I saw this morning. I'm like, oh, is oil like back at like 150 or something? That's what it seemed like based off of the shit I was reading. But no, it's not. It's actually lower than it was just even a few days ago. Back down below $100 where it probably belongs. Probably does continue lower overall. Bounces here and there, obviously, as things don't go down in a straight line. Although they do typically go up in a straight line, as you see right here. Pretty impressive, man. Anyways, going over to traditional markets to see what SPY is doing. It's still fighting off this low, man. So ultimately, I got the same thing to say here. I do think that this is potential for a higher low. It's perfectly on that green 55 EMA on the weekly time frame, and also coming off of the weekly price action pivot here too. But again, for me to confirm this as a higher low and instant bullish would be it needs to get back above last Tuesday's high of 68.14. Nothing's really changed there for me. Until then, I kind of have to be favoring the downside, but this doesn't really look like an asset that wants to break down at this exact moment. This looks like an asset that's probably going to bore the ever-loving shit out of us in the meantime. But again, I'd keep a very keen eye on that exact number right there, 68.14 on the price action pivots. If you see SPY back above there, instant fucking bullish, send it back to the highs, probably beyond. And honestly, that's the contrarian play right now. People love to pretend that they're like the black sheep that has the very unique thoughts and very unique views because it speaks to our ego. We want to feel unique. We want to feel like we have, that we're not like everyone else. We're not like everyone else, even though we are. We all are. But it really seems to me, man, the sheep position right now is absolutely thinking that this war is going to, go to fucking hell, which means that all these things are going to go a lot lower. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. But hey, look, I technically I am bearish right now, not based off of that, but based off of the chart. But I'm very happy to get bullish, instantly bullish, back above 68.14. And the way that things are acting right here, I think that it actually is a pretty good chance to flip around. This is a pretty technical response off that green 55 EMA, and that's effectively where you should be looking for on your higher lows when you're in an uptrend, which it is, on like deeper corrections. You've seen it many times in the past. Here. I mean, because so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, when you're playing, when you are playing the markets, got to stick with your guns, and you got to kind of, just fucking block out all this news bullshit. Remember, the news is there not to inform you. It's there to entertain you. It's there to already tell you the beliefs that you already likely hold so that you can agree with it. You feel good about that and you continue to listen to it. The news is not actual fucking news. It's probably more so misinformation or maybe even disinformation, and it comes from all sides, okay? Not only does the US do it, but certainly all of the fucking US enemies do it as well. Every fucking country does it. Every fucking country has their spin. And then, of course, not even within the country, you have all sorts of dissenting opinions as well for people vying for power. So all of these things, in my opinion, when it comes to when it comes to entertainment, it's really entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love it. I go on X too. When it comes to trading, I don't think it's that important, honestly. I really don't. I think it's more of a distraction than anything else. Because at the end of the day, if you really are trying to trade the news, you have to understand that if you're listening to the news, you are so far down the pipeline of actually even getting the information, it probably is completely irrelevant by that point anyways. Almost always this is true. Not always, but almost always it is true. And it pains me to see all of these people, who they're not dumb people. They are smart people, especially in other regards, but they just fall into the same fucking trap every time. They don't even recognize that everything is spin. We're always being spinned too. I'm spinning right now. I come from an American frame of mind and everything, of course. So that, is inherently in me. As much as I would like to get it out and be as unbiased as possible, I can't do that. It's ingrained in me at least to some degree. But anyways, going over here to Bitcoin, I actually do want to go over a couple of meta signal setups that did fire off recently. One was the 4-hour time frame. We've actually already gone over this because meta signal showed it on their Twitter. This was about a week ago. Yeah, about a week, or sorry, no, not a week ago, a few days ago. This is on the 23rd, fired off when Bitcoin was just above 70,000 bucks. We already did see the first target hit, obviously, or that was this morning at 71,391. Actually, Bitcoin's literally pretty much there right now. Target number 2 is very interesting here to me because that is just below 75,000 bucks, and that does have a probability of just under 59%. So better than a coin flips probability. And the way that Bitcoin closed yesterday, I do think that there is a pretty good shot for this to kind of play out in that fashion. On top of that, a 2-hour setup has also fired off. This one kind of firing off at the exact same time and price as that 4-hour setup. But what I'm interested in here is, of course, those probabilities yet again. And target number 1 was 71,821. Did we already hit that this morning? I guess we already did. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, well, fuck it. Which is a very high probability, 92.31% probability. So I'm always going to bet on that. Target number 2, similar to the target number 2 from the 4-hour setup, a little bit better than a coin flip probability. This one showing about 74,100. So, if you do have to bet on it right now, I think that they're actually, with the way that Bitcoin's acting right now, it's more likely to test the top side of the range again than break down from here back down to the bottom side of the range. I know it said, yesterday it was looking like Bitcoin was going to probably test the bottom side of the range first. In this case, with the way that Bitcoin closed yesterday, again, that was the tell. It closed above 70,000 bucks. And we also see that same corrective setup that we've seen many times on this channel, many times for like the past year, maybe even more, past half year is when I really started to talk about it, maybe even longer than that at this point. But it is the interplay between that red 5 EMA and the yellow 21 EMA. These ones are now very likely going to cross again today. It technically did not do it yesterday, although it got incredibly close. Today, it very likely will do it as long as Bitcoin's above 70,500 or so by end of day. It pretty much is inevitable. And at that point, that green 55 EMA on this time frame is also a natural and very high probability target. That would be 72,700. Now that's for spot. For CME, we see the same thing over here as well, actually. This one, in fact, got that same signal. Let me actually show it over here. Because we have the Quant Prime service, which we use to just back test this one already. This is spot. Yeah, so this next one has not actually fired off yet. But CME actually initiated this way back on over here. And while it did get incredibly close to that green 55 EMA a couple days later, it did not officially test it. And it actually is important for it to at least at minimum test that. And that right now is 75,720. This one, as far as the overall hit rate to hit that green 55 EMA in the profitable manner, is only 50%. But that does not mean that Bitcoin doesn't hit that. It just means in a profitable manner. So like I always say, this as a setup, not very good. This for directional analysis on YouTube, actually very helpful. So I do still think that that is rather likely. And again, that would be at about 75,800, I guess, on CME. So, shave off a few $100 to get your corollary for spot price action. So, is there a better than a coin flip's probability for Bitcoin to test the top side of the range? Yes. Is Bitcoin likely to break out of the top side of the range? In my opinion, still no. I think that Bitcoin is absolutely range bound here for a while. And best case scenario to the upside, and really is probably going to be somewhere a little bit below 80,000 bucks, if that. But that would still be a good thing long term. My view is that I will start to look at Bitcoin as extremely likely putting in the next macro low if it can spend the next 2 to 3 months basically not breaking down below 60,000 bucks on a major time frame closing basis, like a weekly, for example. And I also don't think it's going to be, busting out above about 80,000 bucks as well. I think that this thing is range bound for a while, and that is a good thing. We typically expect Bitcoin to initiate into long-term ranges when it does find these major highs and major lows. It's pretty much been par for the course ever since Bitcoin's inception on all of these long-term macro moves. So I think that we're in the midst of that right now. And again, to also reference yesterday's video, at some point, Bitcoin is actually extremely likely to come back down and test low $60,000. Now, my personal view is that it probably won't break it, but hey, that also is in the cards. So because this corrective setup has fired off over here and Bitcoin has not tested that 55 EMA subsequently after getting that cross, which was actually last month. So, basically highs and lows, I think it's just a range game for a while. I'm still holding my options positions. They are basically just pure premium at this point. There's only like 2 days left until expiration. I can show them really quickly one moment, but need to take a sip of this caffeine. It is pretty crazy that Trump actually pretty much goes over his whole deal making process and art of the deal, which I've actually read. And he literally just does that. All of his tactics are right there. It's kind of crazy. Does no one fucking read that who's dealing with him? It's kind of silly. You'd think you'd want to know, if you have to deal with him, but apparently not, because his tactics have been working hilariously well, to be honest. I say this as someone who, I don't want to get into that one right now. Right? Politics, whatever. Who gives a fuck? Yes. Okay. Where was I? Oh man, just lost my train of thought. Very bad. Yes. Let's go over here to the Reverend Ribbons. Reverend Ribbons, as always, is becoming very quickly my key indicator, honestly, just because it, very accurately summarizes my daily time frame analysis pretty much in one go. Bitcoin closing above the mid-band today is going to be a possibility. It is still at 71,150. Yesterday it did fail there, but again, with today, it does seem like it's going to have yet another chance. So if I had to bet on it, I do think that it will close above. If it closes above, I think that you're going to see all of those upside setups play out to the second target. Probably not the third target. I highly doubt it's going to be the third target, but the second target, incredibly likely. So let's call it 74 to 75,000 bucks, which, by the way, is exactly in the sort of general area of interest for an upside move based upon a reclaim of the midband on the Rev and Ribbons indicator. So that'd be in this sort of circle right here, basically between about 76 on the upper end to 74 on the lower end, something like that. My personal opinion is that Bitcoin will do this based upon yesterday's closure and whatnot. But still, it's unlikely to be a breakout move. It's unlikely to be anything, resembling a fucking major massive reversal back to 6 digits or more for Bitcoin. I'd be very happy to be wrong on that, by the way. As a holder of Bitcoin, I'd be very happy to be wrong about that. But yeah. As I see it right here, if Bitcoin can secure that closure today, yeah, that's going to be the next very likely move for Bitcoin, and probably closes this month out on a bit of a higher note, I suppose, which would probably carry on to all the other risk assets. On top of that, if we go over here to the Rev and Ribbons strategy, which is kind of like my daily strategy, my daily scalping strategy based upon this indicator or this, I guess, script. Well, whatever, one and the same, basically. It's actually given a scalping opportunity right here, which is rather interesting. I actually do think that one's going to fail. I think that this one goes back to the top. But yeah, overall, this one's been a winner. And you will be getting this one for free, by the way, if you do own the Rev and Ribbons. You will be getting an upgrade about a month from now, let's say. We will raise the price at the time. But for right now, look, if you already have the Rev and Ribbons indicator, we're going to give that to you just as a nice little add-on. But as of right now, actually, personally, I would not necessarily like this position right here. So, hey, in this case, I would disagree with it, but I think it'll be a small loss as soon as Bitcoin closes above the midband and then gets the gain on that next few $1,000 move to the upside. Again, we're talking about very, 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 very tight ranges now. Anyways, over to options really quickly. I mean, I don't have anything new to show here really. I'm still holding that $61,000 short put strike 30 times. I did the long put leg closed last week. I just let it expire worthless. So basically I don't know, I sacrificed like $7,000 on that. And this one is going to pull in a maximum profit of $40,650. So basically my total profit's going to be somewhere around like, $34,000 for that position. And then of course the short calls, it's actually not a call spread. It's just short a couple of call strikes out of the money right now, 75 and 77 respectively. I might actually come into trouble here with that $75,000 call strike if Bitcoin really does reclaim today and has like a quick move to the upside by Friday. But keep in mind, I sold these for $450 a piece. So really Bitcoin would have to go above 75,450 in order for me to break even on that, meaning that I'm not making nor losing. And then once Bitcoin starts to go above that, then yes, I would start to eat into the profits of this one right here. This one would still be in profit, obviously, but yeah, that would take down a little bit of that maximum profit depending upon how high Bitcoin's goes. So basically, you'd have to go above $75,000 plus 450, so 75,450. Then I start to lose a little bit on this position if and when that does happen. But at this point, I should probably just close these things, honestly, adhere to my own rules, and I'll probably do that later today, honestly, because 2 days left till expiration. These things are just pure premium. Like there's no real reason to hold them. Anyways, one moment. Some more caffeine for my Angus. And what else we got? We already went over this. We already went over that. Oh, no, we actually didn't go over the HPDR. There's actually not an update here with the HPDR. Just wanted to look at the monthly really quickly. Basically, Bitcoin in this green zone right here, I just don't think you're deviating from that much at all for a long time. And that would be a good thing. If it does, it'll be to the downside in the short term. And that would not be a good thing for the Bitcoin boolas. That will be very, very painful. But here's the thing, man, something else that I don't think a lot of people are looking at is the Bitcoin versus gold ratio. I'm quite confident this is bottomed. I'm in fact very confident this is bottomed. It might retest the lows just like Bitcoin, spot retests the lows. But if this ratio has bottomed versus gold, I do look at that as, as like a greater macro signal. We saw gold, which in my opinion has put in a macro top. It's absolutely a major top, but is it a macro top? I think so. And we're seeing this ratio bottom here So we could see the flipping. I don't know. It's not going to happen anytime soon in terms of like real upside price, but let's fast forward to like Q4 of this year. Yeah, you probably see this thing start to, turn around a bit and, put in a move back above 2025, something like that. Until then, hangs around the lows, I imagine. That's okay. That's fine. But this is certainly more a bottoming area than it is not. I mean, shit, man, if you want to be bullish on this long term, this is exactly where you should be expecting the next major macro low. Unless if you do think that the ratio is going to break down overall, it could. I mean, maybe Bitcoin is all just fool's gold. Gold is very possible. That is the major risk that we run in kind of trusting Bitcoin, I guess. But yeah, I heard a really interesting critique of Bitcoin the other day. It was a critique that I hadn't heard before. And I'm curious what people would think about it in this community. But basically, I think it was actually coming from Peter Schiff. So obviously, heavily biased, very strong frame of reference, let's say. But he brought up a good point, and I like listening to people like this because sometimes you get really good points like this. And he said the biggest threat to Bitcoin is tokenized gold, and kind of makes sense. Now, Bitcoin still has a lot of advantages over tokenized gold, but I imagine that if we fast forward like 20, 50, 100 years from now, a lot of the issues with gold probably could be solved, I imagine, that make it maybe a little bit more akin to Bitcoin. But still, I mean, you won't ever be able to beat Bitcoin in terms of portability and whatnot. So, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Anyways, one moment. There we go. All right, beautiful. Okay, let's see what Super Chat's got lined up. I think I saw a few at the beginning of the stream as well. Let's see. There we go. Okay, it's actually cut off your name, unfortunately, at the top. Oh, it's Luffy. Okay, nice. She's looking at symbol TAO. She said that she's shorting it at 357. It's making me sweat. Uh-oh, the shorting queen might be kind of coming under some pressure here. Well, you can't be perfect all the time, but... Okay, so you shorted 357. It's trading 363. Do we have any toppy side? Look, I'm going to be bearish on this chart. I know that this thing is rallying because the guys from the All In podcast called this one out as a good investment. I think that this is bullshit. I think that this, I don't think that this is going to materialize into a real reversal personally. I think that you probably just saw the high right there at about 370, 380 region. But basically, the invalidation that I'd have where I would just admit, hey, or it's not admit, it's just I would invalidate that idea. I'd be wrong, and this thing would be bullish, would be if you can get a weekly closure back above this breakdown point right here, which is about 398 and 60 cents. So you're very, very close to that. Obviously, from your entry, that's a big percentage move, so you do carry a lot of risk. I personally would not be okay with that risk. I think I understand why you probably took that position, but generally, you don't want to... I don't know. You don't really want to like be too aggressive with shorting these things. You want to aggressively short like the already weakened shit. But anyways, as the market does bounce, this thing's going to do better pound for pounds. It is. So I don't think it's the right choice to short. Do I think that you're probably going to catch a high right here? Yeah. Look at the monthly. The monthly is right at the yellow 21 EMA. It's going to take like a month or two, but it very likely does turn down in my opinion. But yeah, I would invalidate that idea above 398, and at that point, I'd turn around and be bullish. But until then, I think that you're early, but you're not necessarily wrong. But being early is kind of wrong, honestly. So yeah, opportunity cost is going to fuck you pretty good here, and I mean it is possible, obviously, that it can reverse. My opinion is that it won't, but. Yeah. Moves like this, when you get like a podcaster or just some sort of a news event to get that initial momentum going, they usually fall apart rather quickly. So yeah, I kind of be thinking the same thing here as well. But yeah, that's how I'd kind of look at this one. And ultimately, I do think that'll fail. I think that it's a bit premature on your part, but yeah, you don't want to short like the first spike up into these regions right here. You want to look when you're looking for a counter trend play like this, or sorry, this is not a counter trend play, but when you're trying to catch like the next major high or next major low, keep in mind your first sort of stab up into a region like this, it's unlikely to just immediately fucking plummet from there. No, it's going to spend some time at the highs. So when you do want to do these positions in the future, what you really want to wait for, at least in my experience, is something like this, where it spikes up a few times. You start to see this thing struggle. You start to see it, stall a bit. Then you start to get something resembling like a hidden bearish divergence call, something like this. And then at that point, you can probably time it quite well. But for right now, I think that if you are intent on holding this position, you're probably going to have to sit there and take it like a man, even though you're a woman. So enjoy. I don't know what else to say to you. Jim Brennan says XBI weekly and monthly. Got it, man. Okay, XBI. This is a biotech. I actually used to somewhat trade this. My mentor was mostly trading this one, but I did a little bit on this one too. I should full disclosure here. I do own this one. I own a lot of it from a lot lower, close to the April lows of last year. So I'm actually quite happy with what it's doing right here. Ultimately, I think that this one is kind of doing what I think SPY is going to do. And what I think SPY is going to do is probably pop back above last week's high. This thing is very, very close to last week's high. And just this response here, perfectly at the yellow 21 EMA on the weekly time frame. I have to be running with that as my assumption that this is the next higher low. This thing is, very likely going to try back up to the top side of the range and probably break out from there. Looking at the monthly, maybe I relent on that statement. Definitely possible, but short term, do I think it tries some upside? Yes. Is it going to break out of the top side of this, 131 area here? I don't know about that. The monthly does make me a little bit less enthusiastic about it moving exactly right now. I do think it is a setup for long term, to continue upwards and onwards, towards those previous highs, but that can be a very, 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 very long time. Overall, I like it. That's why I own it, of course. But here's the thing. If you do see a daily closure basically below this week's low at 118.25, I would turn bearish. I will still be holding my position. It's from significantly lower, and I just want to own this one personally. But if you do lose about 118.25, I would be expecting another, almost 20% move to the downside, close to $100. So, it's a long way down. Probably need to trade around something like that. Generally speaking, when you get around these previous, these previous breakdown points, like it is from November of 2021, usually that's going to be at least a stalling place. And in many cases, you get kind of like your range high there, then you pop back down and find your next higher low. It's a little bit, it is a little bit aggressive to expect the next higher low to be right here, but I'd give it a chance until proven otherwise. 118.25 is my line in the sand for that. So yeah, man, hopefully that was helpful. We got Steven Schickman back. He's looking at SOXS. Any bearish divergences? All right. It's a very specific question. What time frame though? Well, I guess, I don't know, usually ask about like a daily and a weekly. Is there any bearish divergences? Well, you're not going to have bearish divergences in a downtrend. You have bearish divergences in an uptrend. Maybe you mean hidden bearish divergences, of which, not on the weekly. Look, it's pretty bearish. It's pretty bearish. Yeah. So I was, okay, on the daily, yeah, you do have hidden bearish divergence right here. It's a phantom drive on Caretaker's RSI. But these things, should be good for range plays typically. And a range play for this thing is bringing it back down to the lows. So I remember previously on Monday and the week prior, we were looking at this and I was like, hey, I'm going to be bearish on this, not necessarily because of this chart, but because the SOX chart, just the regular chart, I think is bullish. So I have to be inverse right here. I'm still holding with that. I think it's breaking down now. I think that opinion is now validated. And I think you're just getting ready for continuation of trend here. Yeah. Bring it back down to the lows, probably make new lows. I mean, shit, this thing has a monumental fucking never ending trend to the downside. So yeah, why not continuation from here? Why not? If not now, then when? If not now, then why? Oh man, that Kirkland caffeine, real fucking good. And then you're looking at GLL, daily, weekly. Okay. This is the gold short. Yeah. So this one is going to be pulling back here, obviously, as Bitcoin as gold bounces. And like I said, I do think gold is going to bounce higher and like decently higher as well. So this one did hit our low $20 target. That is very, very nice for sure. But I do think it is going to come down here. And I think it's going to come down quite significantly, actually, somewhere between 19.5 to 18.5 region. Now, that should be a higher low on this, which is going to be a lower high on gold spot. But like I said, gold is going to be the easier chart here. And gold does have more upside, I do believe, over the next few weeks. Maybe short-term time frame see ebbs and flows, obviously, but if we look at the general trend over the next couple of weeks, I do think that it will try higher. So this thing should come down further, but I'd be looking for higher lows somewhere around here, somewhere in that pocket there. And again, that would be a lower high for gold, and it's probably gonna be a lot easier to get a lower high on gold. But for right now, gold has absolutely found a major low. We've seen extreme volatility and volume, and bouncing off of technical areas as well. I mean, gold itself, I think, is bouncing off the weekly 200 simple, or sorry, no, the weekly 55 EMA, which is the daily 200 simple. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so have to be biased towards a big bounce. Look, it's very likely going to try way up here. I mean, maybe even back to like 5,000. It's possible. I do think it might get 5,000 on like a crazy move, but at least like 47. Kind of a big range there, but yeah, these things are going to be volatile, obviously. Anyways, what else we got? We got 1236N, and what's up, Caretaker? I see your name over there, and Creighton C, and John and Shane Overton sending some hate from good old Pennsylvania. Must be fucking miserable as hell in that cold weather. Just kidding, man. Hoi hoi. GM Florida from SUI from Switzerland. That's the acronym for Switzerland? It's SUI. Oh, interesting. Learn something new every day. Man, I was looking at. I always get promoted like these videos from Switzerland. It truly is a magical place. Like, oh yeah, Elsa sends me all the time. That's why. P2 Bitcoin has a good point here. I want to read this really quickly. FYI, the problem with tokenized gold versus Bitcoin is third-party risk. Trust me, bro, the gold backing your token is real and is in the vault 1-to-1 value. Good point. Yeah. Yeah, good point. Good point. I don't know how much this is going to matter for, boomers, because they kind of trust that sort of stuff. But, for the younger generation, I still think Bitcoin's going to make more sense, just because the younger the generations are, the more and more digitized they are, the more and more that they look at that as legitimate and real. And I don't know, man, we don't really see technology going backwards ever, do we? So I happen to think, look, you already know my fucking views, obviously. Don't want to bore you with that shit. 1236N says SNDK. Okay, I remember we've looked at this one a few times. It's SanDisk. Why does this sound familiar? Did they make computer components or something? I do think that you're finding. Well, hold on. What time frame are we on? Daily and weekly. I do think that you have some downside here. I don't think it's necessarily bearish, but I do think that you got some downside and you're looking for the next higher low, hopefully between like 620 and about 5. Oh my God, that's a humongous range, 570. But that would be a nice technical higher low. You got bearish divergence between this point and this point. So I'm inclined to look at this move as likely to correct a little bit more. Weekly, yeah, you got that same bearish divergence here too. It's not like a death sense, I don't think, but I do think you have a little bit of downside, but it should be a higher low watch between those two numbers. I would turn bearish, however, if it does trade below the March lows of like 520. That would be extremely problematic. But until then, I think that I have no reason to think that this thing is, bearish based off of its chart. It's just so I should be looking for higher lows, and that's what I'd be looking for. Yeah, you got some bearish divergences, but probably not going to be terminal. Below the March lows, yeah, it's terminal. It's bad. It's very, very bad. But until then, man, I don't know. Let it do its thing, man. It's had a pretty epic run so far. All right, what else we got here? A lot of people talking about 60K for Bitcoin. I don't look. Some people are pissed that some people are talking about 60K. Some people are pissed that some people are talking about like 90K. I think it's so funny, man, because realistically, Bitcoin probably going to test the low 60s and also probably going to test somewhere close to 80, maybe all in April. And then we're probably not going to see any major movement outside of either which side. It's just par for the course with Bitcoin, man. I think it's going to get a lot more boring from here. From here, can you do Tau daily? If you already did it, do Sui. Yeah, we already did Tau, so all good there. Sui, man, you got to be the first person to ask for Sui in about a year almost. Just god awful, god fucking awful here. Now, it is close to that previous macro low from August of 2024. So, very often you will get a pretty big pity bounce from those numbers. But a pity bounce is a pity bounce. It's not like a reverse to fucking heavens and beyond. I think my LARP, I don't know when I did these LARP lines. This was like, holy shit, this was like way back here, October of last year, I guess. I'm kind of still looking for the same thing. You might have a bounce from where you're at right now. Ultimately, whatever bounce you get is, in my opinion, absolutely doomed. But if you do bounce up to like 130, I think that's a gift from God. I think it's a gift from God. And, this thing, that's, if we go out far enough, if we fast forward like 6 months, 2 years, it's probably going to be lower, or at least to that previous August 2024 low, maybe even the November 2023 low. This thing is your traditional dead heartbeat chart for a shitcoin. I know that it was a favorite of Raoul Pal, which I like him. I like listening to him. He makes me feel really good. I don't know necessarily about like the calls and everything, but it makes me feel good, and I like that. And that's what news is all about, making you feel good. But in this case here, the quarterly is atrocious. This thing is significantly more likely to make new lows than it ever is to ever go back above $3. Ever. This is fucking god awful. Terrible. In the short term, do you maybe get a corrective move to 105? Yeah, doesn't really do anything for you, but sure, could have a short term upside move. I think a gift from God would be 130, but whether it's 105, whether it's 130, I don't fucking know. I think at any rate, it's going to fail, and it's going to come down lower over time. And it's just bad, just really, really bad, man. Anyways, a little bit more of this. And again, I'm not saying this to offend you. I don't think you're bad. Just this chart is bad. It's a shit chart. It's fucking terrible. Crypto Ninja says RCAT on the daily and weekly. Nice. We got Red Cat. So last week, I believe you brought it up, or maybe it was a week prior to that. Was it Red Cat? Yeah, it was Red Cat. Calling out earnings, and we were saying, hey, yeah, this move's good. It was almost making new highs last week, on earnings. But the classic move on earnings is that your earnings will mark the high, and then you have a swift corrective move. In this case, it did have a swift corrective move. 2 days later, it made, came down like what, 30%, 40%? No, 30%, all the way down to $13 almost. But we're getting another higher low on hidden bullish divergence on the green 55 EMA. It's pretty fucking technical, so I'm going to read it exactly like that. I'm going to, again, I own a lot of this one, by the way. I own a lot, so I'm talking my book here, at least to some extent. But I'd be using that $13 low as the next trending higher low, and it continues just putting these higher lows, which is beautiful. So I'm going to respect that until proven otherwise, and I would remain bullish on this thing. Now, again, I own this thing from significantly lower, like mid single digits. So, I'm happy to kind of let this one play out. If you're owning it from here, maybe a little more risky. But here's the thing: the quarterly's closing in less than a week. I mean, I guess it's next Monday. Sorry, wow, it's next Tuesday. Seems so far away. But if the quarterly looks anything like this, look, it's probably going to make new highs in Q2 of this year. Now, does it have another correction before it tries those new highs or not? I don't fucking know, but I'll just be biased towards new highs if that happens. For right now, one of the better charts, especially with singular defense to contractors. So I still respect it. Again, my line in the sand in the short term is $13, basically this week's low. Until that gets taken out, I'm just generally bullish, looking for this thing to float sideways and up. Below $13, I would look for a deeper correction down to about 10 or 11. But even then, I mean, you still got the 200 simple there on the daily, so I'm not going to hate that either. Ultimately, it's going to, really the focus here should be on the long term for the quarterly. How the quarterly closes will massively impact whether I'm basically extremely bullish on this coming into Q2 or maybe even Q3 of this year. Or if I might even just sell everything. I mean, if this thing finishes out the quarter below like 13, yeah, I will probably sell everything. It'll be it'll be a take profit, but I'll just sell it right there. I don't want to, wait around to see if this thing's going to work out or not. Cool. All right. Pricey 9378 says, hey, sir, what's up, man? GAW on London Stock Exchange. Gotcha. Thank you for specifying the exchange as usual. Games Workshop. These bastards, these fucking bastards screwing up Warhammer. Those motherfuckers. Oh, man. I got to tell you, by the way. Oh, man. I want to say a massive thank you for the people who last stream gave out some game suggestions. I bit the bullet. I bought Reforger, whatever the fuck. There's like super mill semi game. It's so good. It's so fucking good. It's so stupidly funny and good. Like people take it so seriously. Like these people, they go into the game and they are that soldier, and it's so fucking realistic that it is actually incredibly immersive and really, really fun. And I just love listening to these guys talk to each other because they really are pretending that they are like real military officers and whatnot, and they're like boss. It's fucking funny. It's so fucking funny. I have like 1 hour played in it, but I'm really liking it. Anyways, and I got my first kill yesterday. It was really, really good. Very proud about that. Anyways, GAW, look, I don't like the company, but they are going up here. Hidden bullish evidence on another higher low on a generational uptrend. I think that you're getting ready to retest those highs close to 20,000 and probably beyond. Monthly, still good here as well. It's getting a little bit more in the crazy zones, but I think that you probably got some new highs to go first before the inevitable does happen. Especially if this quarter can finish out, somewhat green above $19,000. And I think that you will have a chance to do that because, this thing on the weekly and the daily is setting up for higher in the short term anyways. Maybe not necessarily in the daily, probably as another pullback, but, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw early next week, this thing's back with like a 19 handle on it. There's nothing bearish about this chart at all whatsoever, unless, and this would be quite bearish, if it comes back down, not below this month's low, but below February's low of 16,380. If that happens, you do have some problematic signals here. I don't know how long it would take, but I'd be looking for a pretty sizable move down to about $15,000 or so, give or take a little bit from that number. Probably still a higher low there to be fair, but that is a big percentage move. So I think it's probably important to be aware of them. All right, cool. Mr. Cowboy NZ says Iran says it isn't negotiating with Trump. Trump is just playing the market. I'm very surprised at how willingly how much people hate Trump to take at face value what the fucking regime in Iran says. You have to understand all of this is a game. You'll understand politics a lot better when you realize it's all a game. Iran is 100% incentivized to lie about that. I don't even know if it's true or not. It might be true. It might not be true. I don't know. But they are absolutely incentivized to lie about that. Why? Because they know if they can put pressure on the U.S. markets, which is Trump's major driver, everything comes back to the fucking economy, especially for Trump, because, he's always watching the stock market. And just in general, I mean, that saying it's the economy, stupid, is the older I get, the more and more I realize that's true. Caretaker, said it just randomly to me like 4 or 5 months ago. And it's stuck with me for like, I literally can map everything almost back to that. Anyways, Iran has significant, first off, they are not known to be truthful. For one, crazy idea, fucking regime that kills 35,000 people, 35,000 of their own fucking people when they're in a war. Yeah, crazy. I'm going to trust them. But they also have a real incentive to lie about that, because it will hurt the U.S. markets. It doesn't take a fucking genius to see that, and it did. And that pushed pressure on Trump, and that's leverage in a negotiation. That is their leverage. Their leverage is economic. That's the whole issue with the Strait of Hormuz. But again, anyways, I don't want to get into this shit. Look, at the end of the day, I don't fucking know anything. You don't know anything. These goddamn podcasters speaking their head off certainly don't know shit. They definitely don't have any fucking insider information. I'll tell you that, man. Like, goddamn, the last people you should probably trust is these motherfuckers. Like, they are literally incentivized just to keep you entertained, like literally. It's just silly. But anyways, onwards we go, past the GAW, on to Mr. John. He says, GM Broski, what's up, man? Stock ACHR. Yeah, this is Archer Aviation, right? We haven't looked at this one in a while, so I kind of forget what it looks like, and it's bad. This would be bad. Look, you might get another pity bounce kind of off of this 200 simple here, and also retesting the low from April of last year. I think it would just be that. Ultimately, this thing wants to go lower. Ultimately, this thing is going to very likely see a 3 handle in the coming months. Is not good. This is a breakdown. This is a clear and obvious rejection and a reversal of that. The quarterly is atrocious. This thing is almost undoubtedly coming down to at least like $3.50, sometime this year. And then I think that it'll personally come lower than that overall. This is bad. This is a real rejection on a lower high. Not fucking good. Anyways, Chris Fella sent a super chat, but retracted his message. So fair enough. Appreciate that, man. But feel free to leave a message as well. I'll scroll back up here. Just lost my place. Okay, there we go. Straight Path says GM. Or actually, let me see. Maybe Elsa got it really quickly. Oh, weird. Okay, so wait, what? Hold on. I must have missed Lucas Secord. Sorry about that, man. I apologize about that. CVE. Okay, Cenorvis Energy. Okay, all right. Good. Really good. Really fucking good. Really fucking good on the quarterly. Look, all this thing needs to do is close above $22 by next Tuesday, and I'm big time bull up to 30 plus. So these are big moves for this thing. I think it's breaking out. Look, I think it's formality. I think it's breaking out right now. You might see some ebbs and flows on a daily. I don't know what sort of time frame you're really looking at, but All higher term timeframes are bullish on this thing. So barring a catastrophic failure before end of month here, back down below, let's call like 23.5, I'm bullish on this thing. I think you're a lot more likely to see 30 plus than you are back down below 20, for example. If it did close below 23, okay, I guess I'd reassess. I don't think that's going to happen, but yeah. So far, so good. All right. We got that. Nice. We got that. Okay. Chris, he was asking about Tau as well. Do you still think we'll see low 200s? I do think so. If you fast forward enough time, yeah. But right now it's in a rally mode. It's probably going to stick, to the highs of those rallies for a while, and then turn down again. Completely news bullshit. It's not even news. Just complete podcaster driven. It's the same thing as like when your favorite crypto Twitter influencer pumps up a shit coin and then dumps on it. I'm not saying that the all-in guys are doing that, but you can expect kind of the same result regardless of whether they're intending to do that or not. It's all about the hype. Let's see. Straight Pat says Iren, IREN. Gotcha, man. Can it break above 55? It's always a chance, right? Probably not anytime soon, though. Short term, I think you're coming back down to these lows. $35 or so. I don't think it's going to break down in the short term, but I think you do, come back down to the low side of that range. Yeah. I remember we looked at this one on Monday as well, and I was saying short-term downside. I still think the same thing, man. I think that you got many drives of hidden bearish divergence here on Caretaker's RSI, plus low volatility, plus, just a general downtrend and a rejection of the green 55. This is all technical. I think you're a lot more likely to come down to like mid 30s than you are to, put in a rally from here. So I'd be looking at short-term downside. I'd get very bearish on this thing if you start to see closures below 33. Until then, I think it's just a range play, probably with another bounce off a low or mid 30s, something like that. Overall indeed. All right, what else we got? Here's a good question. Jojo's 6872 says, good morning. I've started a plan of DCAing $20 a day until Bitcoin hits its top again. What do you think the best exchange would be for me to use? Doesn't really matter what exchange. I mean, obviously you're gonna want to gravitate towards the one with the lowest fees, right? I don't necessarily know where you live, nor should I, to be honest. But obviously, use the exchange that you have access to that has the lowest fees. That would be the general sort of thing there. Do I think it's a good idea? Look, if you have $20 to spare every day and you have a long-term conviction on Bitcoin, which I do, I think putting money to work at these prices will look good in 5 years. Maybe sooner than that. Possible for sure, but I would kind of earmark that as sort of a time frame, 4 to 5 years from now. These prices start to look pretty good. So, would I be happy to DCI here? Yeah, I bought in the low 60s a couple of times already. Big buys. So, that is what I'm doing. I'm not doing a daily DCI. I'm going off of the LTI and what the LTI and when the LTI tells me to invest. But if that's how you wanted to do it, you just don't want to think about it too much. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's completely fine as like an investment strategy right now. You're at long-term value areas. So if you're okay with holding it long-term, not doing it on leverage and not necessarily needing the money for any immediate, emergency purposes, sure. Probably looks good in about 4 to 5 years at least. Yeah, cool. Base 4267 says Jedi. This must be a crypto, huh? No, it's not. It's a drone. Oh, that's drone and modern. Yeah, I remember I added this one. I like the idea of it. I don't like the chart. I don't like the chart, which reminds me of Circle as well. Circle finally coming down now. I feel vindicated there, kind of. Look, it's a little bit too new to do a real analysis on it. I think that this is something that I probably will personally want to invest in, but not here. I don't see things that are obvious that make it investable for me right now. If it could reclaim this high from March at 2774, price action pivot right here on a weekly time frame, maybe, for a small position. But I would avoid this right now. I think that you're a little more likely to actually come down, if anything. But I'm not going off of much. There's not much of a chart here. What I'm really going off of is the monthly, which looks more like a rejection than not. But again, super limited information. So if I had to call it, it's going to come down. I guess I'd flip around above the March highs. but I wouldn't even feel very confident about that. I'd personally just want to see it come down first before I start to, put my own investments in it. Short term, does it try a little bit of a rally back up to like 27? Yeah, probably. But I don't think that you're breaking out. I think it's going to look something like this, honestly. Blah, 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 and then kind of, Moses its way down. And I'm going to be very, very patient with this one. Similar to Circle as well. I don't know if anyone's asked about this, but I do want to go to it because it's of my own interest. I do want to position in this long term. I just, ever since this thing got up to about $100, I don't want it right there. I want to wait for that next pullback into a higher low. That's where I feel a lot better about this. And I think we're finally getting it. This thing's coming down almost 30% now, or more than 30%. No, almost 30%, 26% right now. So yeah. I'll be patient here, and I'll be patient with something like that as well. I think I like it long term. I just like the idea of it long term. Makes a lot of sense, but in terms of the chart, no, I don't like it where it's at. It's not investable for me right now. Vince have PH8, Mr. Wellbounce, corn on nicey. Gotcha, man. Corn. It's a corn fund ETV. Okay, great. Commodities, huh? Yeah. So context here is everything, right? I'm guessing, so I think another thing that I've seen a lot recently is like people want to get into commodities like corn, wheat, food related sort of stuff, soybeans, shit like that, because they think that, they want to become soy boys now because this war is starting. Think about that. World War III starts and you want to fucking become a soy boy? Fuck you. Fuck you. Anyways, I think that that's a wrong play right now. Again, I think that it's a crowded thing, and you're probably looking closer at these as highs than they are to any major reversals. Do I think that this current rally could continue on a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Maybe like $19, but I think generally these things are probably hitting highs right here. And I think that this thing is no different. If it does go a little bit higher, like I said, 19-ish to 19.5 is kind of where I'd be looking towards. But these like major volume spikes out of nowhere on an asset that has pretty much gone down only, on an asset that really is, in a way deflationary, with the advances of technology, like these things should become a lot easier to harvest and everything. I'm gonna be a lot more inclined to be looking for highs here rather than for a real reversal. Could it be that you get one of these moves that you saw from 2020? Maybe, but I wouldn't be betting on it personally. I think that this thing's a little more likely to fail and come back down. I think that this was a macro lower high right here. So, I'll put it that way. But commodities, I don't look at too much myself. And if I am looking at the short term, I do think that you have some more upside. I do. You got hidden bullish evidence right here. And you do have a short-term reversal. So yeah, if it wants to continue to 19.5, whatever, I think that's fine. I just think it probably fails, but that's my view right now. I can certainly be wrong on this one. Okay, beautiful. All right, what else we got? Ian Young is next. He says, "Hey, Crown, I'm interested in signing up for Metasignals." You mean this guy right here? I noticed that Crypto Zombie is still referenced on the website. Is he still involved? Yeah, Crypto Zombie, he is one of the original investors alongside myself in Metasignals. So is he still involved? Yeah, but I don't think he's too much involved in like YouTube and shit like that anymore, to be honest with you, man. Look, I've gotten to know K-Dub like somewhat well. I fucking love guys like that, by the way. But he's an old soul, man. He I think he's just kind of like over social media and whatnot. And fair enough, I can't blame him. Like I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. But yeah, is he still involved? Kind of. I mean, he's still there. He's still an investor, but I don't really think he's doing much YouTube recently. So it is what it is. But yeah, as far as Metasignals go, I should let you know there's actually only 6 days left in their NFT sale. So once that 6 days goes, or once basically we get to April 1st, they will no longer sell their NFT. I think they have like 500 or 600 more left. And yeah, once it's gone, it's gone. They're going to just burn the rest, and I think they'll only do like a subscription model after that. And at some point they'll probably release a token as well. But I think you might need the NFT to get in, or at least you might like only get like a, a decent allocation if you have an NFT, something like that. I don't think that they've fully fleshed out just yet, but something to that effect basically. But yeah, 6 days left. Yeah, man, is he involved? I guess. I don't want to speak like out of turn from him. I haven't spoken to him in about a month now, but we catch up every once in a while. He's like, how do I describe him, man? He's He's like a college frat bro who just got older. But he's great. Like I really, really love him. Like you might hear that and you think I'm talking shit. I'm not. Like I really love a guy like that. Anyways, Chris Velo is back. He's looking at FET. Sure, man. We can look at FET, FET coin. My FET coins. You know, a lot of corrected bounces right now. This one does have 1, 2, 3 drives of bullish divergence on the weekly RSI, on Chaotic's RSI. You've already hit the easy target for that. So, you know, 25.5 cent. Look, if Bitcoin tries higher here, this thing will as well pretty much every one of these shit coins, right? But, you know, similar to a lot of the other things we've seen today, do I think it's a reversal here? No, I think the next game is just finding the next lower high. I think if you're extremely aggressive, you're looking pretty much exactly where it's at right now. I think that would be a little bit too aggressive for me. I wouldn't personally play that. I think best case scenario, you might get up to like 38 cents, 35 to 38 cents. It's a big move from where you're right now. But again, that would be a gift from God. I don't necessarily, might be a little bit too optimistic. I don't know. Does it maybe get up to like, you know, somewhere in the middle there, somewhere around like 30 cents? Yeah. And that's probably the area that I'd be interested in maybe playing a short position, but not here, man. Not here. A little bit too early in it. And while, yeah, you do have some technical reasons to be looking for, you know, high right here, I'm inclined to think that it's probably going to spike that 200 simple on the daily. Yeah, and play out. I mean, 3 drives of bullish evidence on the weekly RSI. Like the 21 EMA is almost always going to get hit. A lot of the times you'll even see the 55. I think that's way too high. I don't think that that's happening, but maybe, you know, somewhere around this previous high right here, something like that would make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, cool. Freddie M says SPIR. Okay. Spire. All right. New one, I think. I don't think that we've seen this before. I like the higher low here on the weekly, but I'm gonna gasp at the long term. You know, this thing has gone through a very long period of sideways. This has been going on for about 4 years now almost. I'm inclined to think that this is going to at least try back up towards these highs from January of last year. You're about to get that cross between the red 5 and the yellow 21 EMA, assuming that this thing just does not completely fall apart before end of month. So you got about 6 days left to go. Needs to basically finish above, let's call it 11.5. So you're decently above there right now. You got some bullish divergence as well. You got volatility rising off the lows. I think you're very likely going to test somewhere around, you know, those previous highs at $20 to $21. Is it going to be a real reversal? I don't know, but I do think that you got some upside right there. I would flip around my opinion in the short term if it did come back down below basically $11 by the end of this month. If it does that, I'd reassess and probably turn bearish. But for right now, no, I think that this thing's poised to try a little bit higher, honestly. Cool. Is a breakout confirmed? No, it's not. It's certainly not confirmed. No. But although I do think it's very likely here. It's very, very likely. And look, I don't think it's a bad idea to wait till the monthly close anyways, because, I mean, if it goes in the way that I think it very well might, that's about a 50% move, give or take, to the next like high probability target. So, yeah. Peter Underwood says, hey, Cave Dwellers, like the Airsoft era. What about it? The Airsofters, yeah. I mean, we used to play Airsoft when I was a kid, man. That was fun. But now I realize like there's a fucking, like, there's like a league for adults. I don't know if I want to get into that, man. Anyways, Great White Hype's looking at Tesla daily, weekly. Yep, as always, full disclosure, I do own this one. I am pretty fucking close to selling it though, but it still continues to fight its way around the green 55 EMA here. So I'm gonna hold on to it for now, but I'm gonna be very, very, very quick in letting this one go if we see any sort of a weekly closure, you know, below that number, or especially a monthly below that number. You know, you do have that bearish divergence here. You already have seen basically a correction to the green, sorry, not to the green, but to the yellow 21 EMA. So if you're super optimistic, then that could be the next higher low. I don't like the quarterly here. Makes this one very difficult. So look, if I'm just looking at the weekly, let's make a corollary between this and SPY. I have to be bearish on this chart just based off of the current trend, even though it is a short-term trend on the daily, as long as you're below the price action pivot, which is 416 and 35 cents. Similar to SPY, if it can reclaim that number on a daily closing basis, instant bullish, instant fucking bullish, send it back up towards, you know, basically new highs. Until then, got to follow the yellow brick trend, man. And so far, it's actually being rejected by the yellow 21 EMA and the 200 simple. So I don't like that. So I'm gonna stick to my guns here. I'm personally holding my position as long as the monthly is above that sort of like 385 number. It's very close to breaking it, but Yeah. Yeah, that's really all that I got to say about that. Chance here, but personally, or technically have to be bearish. Personally, I'm holding it right now, waiting for the monthly closure, because that was a position that I took. Again, that was positioned from like 360 or 370s, or sorry, not 270 to 260, something like that. So yeah, I'll be a little bit patient here. I'm curious what like a 6 month looks like. Yeah, not terrible on the 6 month time frame, to be fair. So there is a little bit of hopium there. What about the yearly? Same thing. It's not really conclusive one way or the other, honestly. So yeah. Yeah. Un Poquito Loco says, I played Armory Forger and joined a Latin American server, and hearing trash talk in Spanish was fucking gold. You give me the itch to play again. Dude, it's so good, man. It's so fucking like it's so intensely real. Like they put so much into the realism of it that it's not even like a game. It's like you're watching a movie, but you're kind of playing a part in it, but you're also not like the hero of the movie. There is no hero. Like it's not really it is about gunfight, but it's also not about gunfight. It's about like logistics, and it's about carrying supplies and shit like that. I don't know why it's so fucking fun. I don't know why, man. It's just hilarious. Anyways, J Meg's looking at RIVN. Sure, man. This is Ravane. We haven't looked at this one in a while. I imagine it's probably because it's doing very poorly, and well, it could be worse, I guess. It's held in this pocket quite a bit. So it did get the what's it called? The correction that we called based off of the breakdown from way back on over in December. But is it necessarily bearish here? It's not. If it was bearish, I would have expected this move to go below $13, and it didn't. Instead, it's creating a range here. So I would actually give it the benefit of the doubt. And I would say kind of the same thing as before. Last month's low, the February low of 1358, below there, yeah, I can instantly turn like very bearish. And look, I'm going to shoot you straight, man. I think it probably does do this, but if you want the technical way, yeah, 1358 is the sort of invalidation. And, you know, if that gets taken out, which my personal opinion is that it will, then I think you're coming all the way back down here to like $10, $11. So it's kind of a big percentage move again. From where you're at right now, you know, the hopium is that you're creating a sideways range. Short term, I think it is coming down. You know, this is 1, 2, 3 lower highs right here. That's not great. You got kind of the same lows as well. So that is a bearish bias. But if you want to play it by the book, you'd be looking at this as a range, and it should, you know, bounce off of about $14 or at worst, 1358. I don't think that that's what's going to happen personally, but, that would be the technical way of looking at it. And of course, you could confirm bullishness if it just, you know, really trades back above this February high of 1848. Yeah, 1848. Until then, look, my personal opinion is this thing's going to fail. It's going to come down. I think there's a lot of good reason to believe that on the higher term timeframes. So I don't want to be feeding you bullshit here. If I'm just giving you a straight opinion, yeah, down. This thing is topped. It's coming down for a while. But if you want the technical analysis, I guess, well, short term would still be down, but, you know, possible to put in a range here, then flip back to the upside. But again, not confirmed as a real reversal until you're back above that 1848 high. All right, cool. Freddie M says, Black Sky, weekly breakout soon. I don't know. How could I possibly know, sir? I swear, you never like listen. Maybe you never listen, maybe you never hear, but I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. Is it breaking out right now? No, it is not confirmed to break out. It's very fucking close. My opinion is that it will. I think this is a good chart. I think this is good. This is a good do. You got hidden bullish divergence. You're already around that previous high. So in order to break out, just needs to close above the price action pivot of 29.79. Does it happen this week? Does it happen, you know, next month? I don't know, but I think it probably will. The other side of that is the monthly. This is the exact precise point at $28.50 that you'd be expecting a rejection if it's going to be bearish. So my personal, not my personal opinion. The technical analysis is that it has not broken out yet, but it is in a strong position. And if it is going to break out, I'd expect it this week or next, basically. Confirmed above 29.79. At that point, you probably are looking at, you know, $40 or whatever, 35 to $40. I think there's a lot of good technical reasons here to be optimistic. Where did I change around my opinion? It'd have to be below the February low of 1752. And Yeah, the only problem I see here is on the monthly. But if it pushes through, I mean, that's going to be a big fucking move to the upside, and the quarterly as well on the 21. So yeah, I'd really be waiting for this confirmation right here. It's going to be a big move. So I don't think there's really much of an issue to wait personally, but yeah, some motherfuckers are too impatient. So I wouldn't buy right here. I would wait for the breakout personally in this case, because if you do fail, it's a long way down in order to figure out if this thing's, you know, breaking down or not. But below this low, it's extremely problematic. Until then, I would be optimistic here personally. Yeah, that is one that I do not own though. Unfortunately, probably should. That's probably a pretty good move brewing there. All right. And yeah, if it does pump, if it does confirm that breakout, I'd be looking 35 to 40. So a pretty big move, probably closer to 40, honestly. Neil Cotton or Niel or Nia Le Cotton says hype on the daily. Sure. I got you. Let's see. Where is my derpity hype chart? There it is. Look, this is the place you got to be expecting a pullback. Same thing as before. Looked at this one on Monday, I believe. I think that you probably spike this high again at 42, 43 bucks. I don't think you're breaking out right now, but I do think that you're going to spike this high. I just don't think you're ready to break out right now. So I think it's still kind of a range plays here. Sorry, not necessarily range plays here, but just, you know, pull back from that, tries for a higher low a little bit later, then you get the real push. This thing really, if there's anything that's potentially reversing, it's this. So any sort of bullishness from Bitcoin should help out hype significantly. This is the one that I'd be most optimistic on. Look, if you just wanted to have a bullish bias, I think that that's completely validated as long as you're above this higher low right here, 36.75. That's the line in the sand. My LARP lines have this one spiking the highs a few more times, then coming down for the higher low and then trying to break out. Does it happen like that or does it not? I don't know, but I do think that this one probably does break out over time to the upside. I actually do. This is a pretty strong move here. But is it ready on this exact move? I'm less confident of that. Yeah, I'm more inclined to say that it comes back down for another higher low, then tries to break up, but obviously can be wrong about that. If you see closures below 36, well, what was it exactly? 36.74, I would turn immediately bearish for a move all the way down below $30. So, you know, 20 to 30% move to the downside from there. But until then, you know, this is in a strong position, certainly a stronger position than almost all the other cryptos, honestly. So, yeah. Great White Hype says, human, H-U-M-N on the daily weekly. Gotcha. Okay, H-M. Guessing this is a stonk. Humanoid robotics. Nice. Another thing I'd probably be interested in. I'm guessing the play here is that it's gone down so much that it must go up, in which it's actually not... hasn't been that disastrous for some that's, you know, probably lower market cap. Yeah, it's only 15% down from the highs. These things can go down much more than that. I like this as an idea. Obviously, humanoid robotics, blah, 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 these things, the future, yada, yada. But I do think that this thing probably is put in a major high as of February and probably does come back down to, you know, mid-low $20 region. Here's your quarterly with just, you know, less than a week to go. Your monthly also is a reversal. These are not great. You know, if you're just trying to play a bounce in the short term, I get that. I think that you might have a bounce back up to like 30 and a quarter, maybe even $31, but I'm a lot more inclined to look at this one as likely to fail than not. It is limited information here, to be fair. So again, I always want to be super transparent when I don't feel that confident about things. But, you know, if I had to call it just based off of this and this, I think you're a lot more likely to see this next quarter come all the way back down to the previous lows in $25 to $20 region, something like that. Yeah. But, you know, do you get some bounces in between there? Probably, yeah. I just don't know necessarily what's relevant to you in that case. Manicore TA, I know everything. Fuck yeah, man. I've been looking for someone who knows everything. 10-year yield and crude light are running tacos foreign charts. Maybe. It could be. It could very well be. We may never know the truth of the situation. Hoy Hoy says, Bill Norblatt, well, Sui plus Sui are confused a lot in the Americas due to... Oh, yes, us Americans, not very well educated in terms of geography. So yes, this is a real issue. When Elsa tells people that she's from Finland, people will say like, Sweden? Norway? Something like that. No one knows what the fuck Finland is. Like, no one. Seriously, no one. Like, most people think it's in the US. Or she just made it up. Yeah, it's not real. Low Energy Finn says Taiwanese scientists developed a serum that regrows hair in 20 days. Fuck yeah, I'm long. Shorting Turkish airlines. Yeah. I'll take it, man. Dude, I've had 2 hair transplants and I still need some fucking hair. So give me that Taiwanese shit. And we better protect them too. We need the hair, okay? We need the hair. We need the hair. I need the hair. Please, I need the hair. Anyways, Adam Coin says, GM, sir, coin, monthly, quarterly. Look, if I don't have the hair, Elsa's going to fucking dump me, all right? I can't deal with that, okay? It's going to hurt my feelers. Anyways, Coinbase, monthly, quarterly, if already done, VOO. No, we haven't done Coinbase. It is the same thing as before. Little bit of hopium for a low off of the same lows that we saw from April of last year, and then previous to that, September of the year in 2024. It has gotten a pretty epic bounce from there, from 145 all the way up to about 213. It's pretty good. But it did get rejected at the 5 EMA, which is not a good sign. And in the short term, I do think you're going to come back down and test around that low. Hopefully, it bounces again at around 150 to 160. So I do think it goes lower in the short term. If that's relevant to you or not, I don't know. Probably not if you're on a monthly or quarterly. But yeah, short term it is bearish. Maybe I'm being influenced by my own biases here too. But do I think it's going to bounce off at the same number again? I hope it does, because if it doesn't, it's a long way down. Let's see. I mean, the yearly is fucking bad, man. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. Look, I can understand why people would be looking for another bounce off of 140, you know, these same lows that we've seen 3 times over the past 3 years. Do I think it's going to bounce against there? Maybe you get another bounce or two, but ultimately the yearly is not good. It's not good. It's really not good, actually. Last year, I think is going to be, the high from last year is going to be a high for a very long time, I think. So I'm assuming you're very long-term based off of the timeframes that you gave. I think you probably got another bounce here or something like that, but I'm not too optimistic about this. I've sold almost all of my Coinbase at this point. Hopefully I end up regretting that because I don't want to see it fail. But look, if it fails, I'll be happy to buy lower. It's just I'm not going to buy that right there, or I'm not going to sing the praises of it right there. It's just it's not worthy, unfortunately. It is what it is. It is what it is, sir. It is what it is. Yeah. Look, if we fast forward to 2027, do I think it's lower than last year's low? Yeah, I think it'll be under 140 at some point at least. Hopefully there's a couple of bounces in between there, to get out yet again. Cool. All right. Let's see. Sensibar has, okay. I see it. BWXT. Gotcha. Elsa was quick on that one. Good job. Cool. All right. BWXT. Okay. Really good. This is a yearly chart. It literally just goes up only, and the monthly is bullish as fuck. Hidden bullish evidence on the next higher low. You're already at the previous highs. I think this thing's probably ready to make new highs, maybe even this month, very likely in April. At least, this is great, man. This is great. This is a phantom drive of hidden bullish evidence on Caretaker's R side. But again, when you get these already at the top side of the range on low volatility, these have potential to break out. And I think that this is great. Whatever the fuck this thing is, it's amazing. Oh, aerospace. And man, I got to add this one. What the fuck? How's this one not popped up in my BWXT? How's this one not popped up in my studies? This is phenomenal chart. This is phenomenal chart. What's its market cap? Almost 20 billion. Yeah. Look, technically you want to see it close above 220 to validate the next breakout, but if and when it does, which I think it's extremely likely that it will, I think that you're in for a move, $40 higher basically. So let's call it like 250 to 260, something like that. Really fucking good though. Really fucking good. Perhaps the best chart that we've seen today, in fact. Wow. Look at the previous quarter, and then this quarter just eats it all up. Still 6 days left to go, obviously, but I think that you got some new highs in April. It's very, very, very intense chart here, I will say, but yeah. Excuse me. Anyways, let's see. Mr. Cowboy NZ says, hello, sir. CRWV, is it pivoting up? Let's see. CWRV. Thank you. Loving the TI 101, by the way. Awesome, man. I think, Whoops, I spelled it wrong. My apologies. There we go. CoreWeave. Yes, this one. Yeah, man. I'm great. I'm very happy to hear that, man. I'm really glad to hear a lot of the feedback on it. It seems like it's really. I feel like maybe after so many years, I finally got the presentation style down, and I'm able to like transfer that knowledge a little bit better. But yeah, the response so far has been great. I love it. I fucking love it, man. Really happy to hear that. Okay, so is this thing pivoting up? Look, this thing has been down only since 20. This is basically a shitcoin chart. You get your only move to the upside and then just down only from there. So I have no reason to believe that it's pivoting right now, if not for anything else in a short-term move. You didn't really give me a time frame to go off of, so I don't know what's relevant to you or not. Ultimately, can this thing move a little bit higher and still remain in this downtrend? Yeah, absolutely. At 92 and a quarter. That's kind of like the last point that I'd be looking for on a rejection. If it heads up much above that, especially back up to $100, I think it will be pivoting because you would have technically a weekly higher low in right here. Do I think it's going to work like that? No, I don't think so. I think that this thing ultimately goes lower, but I can very much be wrong about this one because it should have a little bit more of an attempt here. And again, close to $100, I would say, yeah, I think that you got a real pivot going on, but I don't know what time frame we're on, so I don't know exactly how to make this best relevant to you. Yeah, I mean, the most obvious thing is that if it comes back down below that $70 low, then it's, you know, it's just continuation of trend. But I would be extremely skeptical of any reversals on an asset that only goes down. And this one has been down only as far as the higher term timeframes matter. There's no divergences here as of right now. Yeah, there are none on the weekly at least, which is where I'd expect to see something if it is going to have a pivot. In this case, I'm more inclined to just follow the long-term trend, which is down. And I would actually validate major downside below $77.50 price action pivot right here, rather than, you know, the March lows. I don't think that you need to wait as long, but yeah. If you can get back up towards these highs, okay, yeah, you got to pivot, creates a range, maybe launches up to like 125, 130, but I feel like I'm just selling you hopium at this point and trying to like figure out a way to, you know, make you happy. I don't think that that's what's likely to happen here. You know, it's just not wise to be looking for a reversal without reason on charts like this. Reasons might come up later on, but for right now, we don't have any signals that give me the confidence to say, yeah, it's pivoting here to the upside. No, I don't think so. J Meg says LWLG. Okay, this is a new one. LWLG. Light wave logic. Cool name. Daily good, but you're looking at the quarterly, which is also good. In fact, this is a pivot, and this had hidden bullish divergence on the low. So that's kind of what I was looking for on the previous chart. Like, can I find something optimistic for that? And obviously the answer is no. On this one, we can. And while I do think you're going to pull back relatively soon from about $10, whether it's $9.50 or $10, I don't know, but you know, somewhere around there, you probably do pull back a bit. The bias on the pullback is to look for a higher low, because this is a real reversal in the making. So, you know, you're very likely going to pull back from these major highs here. You know, these were very significant highs at around, sorry, it's more like 9.25 to 9.5. But I'd just be looking for a higher low after that. Overall, it's pretty good. And in the short term, I think that you continue higher. This is good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah, do I have anything else on top of that? Yearly, fine. Yeah, I'd give it a chance. I think that you've seen the majority of this current rally already, obviously, but after it pulls back, let it settle for a while, I'd be looking for higher lows. But yeah, just going off the quarterly. Yeah, pretty good right there. You know, if it pulls back to $7 in Q2, I would look at that as an opportunity. And, you know, from there, I think that you probably test into like $11, $12. It's a big move. It's a really big percentage move. All right, let's see what else we got here. Crypto Shard, always nice. Tau daily and gay voice, please. Okay, well, the Tau chart is looking pretty fucking homosexual to me right now. It's certainly going down. No, actually, it's not going down. That was the one that was going up. I don't fucking know, man. We already went over this one earlier. I don't really have anything new to say about it. I think you're probably going to get something like this. You spike these highs a few more times, a little bit higher as well, and then probably come down. Just my personal opinion. What's up, Tom Crown? Streaming bear market is here. Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Yeah, it is what it is, dude. You know, but honestly, man, like, I ask myself this all the time. Like, if I wasn't streaming, what would I do? What would I use my time for? And at the end of the day, streaming continues to win. It's also just fun, dude. It's also just fun. Anyways, good to see you, man, by the way. It's been a while. Freddie M says, ONDS, bottom in, time for pump to $15 plus. This thing? I don't know. Is the bottom end? It's a good chart. It's definitely a good chart. And you will have hidden bullish divergence here between the lows of November of last year and these lows right here. I don't know if it's ready right now, but I'm looking at this as a low forming. So it's a process, right? And it's probably, it might take a little bit more time. You might even get another stab down, you know, below $10. But this area right here is what I'm looking for on a higher low. And yeah, do I think it's a forming low? Yes. Is the bottom absolutely 100% in at this exact moment? No. But if I have to call it right there, yeah, I think that you got a short-term low in, and you're just going to fill out that low a little bit more, then try your upside move. You know, monthly time frame right here. Well, this one's a little more problematic long term. I don't know how much I trust this rally long term, but if you're just talking about, hold on. Oh yeah, if you're just talking about the weekly, look, I think that you will retest like below $10 again, but I think that you probably do bounce. Are you going to get back up to $15? Maybe get one more shot to $15, but I'd be very, very cautious on this one, man. I think that this, no, actually, sorry, no, I take all of that back, man. I take all of that back. You probably do have another like short rally in April, maybe back to like 11 and a half to $12, but I think that this thing is topping out right here. Your next move should be a swing down, and maybe you get like a higher low in the mid, you know, dollar regions. But yeah, daily time frame wants to come back down to the bottom side of the range. It's not necessarily bearish. I think it's going to do something like this. Okay, damn, lines are everywhere. Something like this. Get one more try and then big down. Something like that would be the LARP lines for this thing. The higher term time frames are kind of the tell here. I know you didn't ask about them, but I think it is important to kind of reflect a little bit on them, because the quarterly close in something like this, that is almost undoubtedly going to be a swing high and a lower high at that. So, you know, the trend is your friend, and the trend would not be basically a retest of this quarter's high. I mean, that would, you'd have to be biased towards downside from there. So it's like, yeah, I think you're going to get another bounce here. I don't know about $15, so it's kind of a lot. Hopefully I'm wrong. Flynn Sizemore says, Tron, 1 in 4 hour, please. Sure. Really going deep down and dirty into these lower term timeframes, but it's good, to be fair. I mean, look, as much as I want to hate something like this, it has among the best charts in crypto, maybe even the best chart in crypto. 4 hour hidden bullish divergence. Probably have to be looking for another retest of that 31, 32 cent high. I believe last we looked at this, I did say this thing was coming up to about 30 cents again, at least, or no, this high over here. So that's 32 cents. Yeah, I still think this is, honestly, this is like pretty good here. Kind of crazy, but yeah. I think you're going to retest this high at 32 cents, probably pull back a little bit, then try for a breakout. Does it break out or not? Well, yeah, there actually is a pretty good reason to believe it could. Bi-weekly has multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence and low volatility. So yeah, it has a real chance to do that. And if it does, I'd be looking for a return up to whatever these highs are here, like 35 cents. So another like 10% move to the upside, something like that. 15%, something like that. 1 hour time frame, short term, little bit more up as well, but probably pulls back somewhere around 31.5 cents, let's say. It's not necessarily bad. It's just, you know, a little bit of a pullback into a higher low, try higher later. Let's see. We got man, how do I say your name? Sorry, sir. Ardanale. You are definitely Iranian, right? Beautiful name. Iranian people are usually very, very beautiful people too. But very difficult names to say, sir. Can't fucking say it. So I'm just going to go off of what you're asking, which is INTC, which is Intel, which again, full disclosure, I own a lot of Intel. I own it from well before Trump ever mentioned this thing. This was like a buy back in 2022, just because I like the company. I was reading a lot of, what was it? No, it's not Bill Miller. It's Graham. It's going to really frustrate me until I get it. Sorry. I'm not trying to scare Rosie. Intel hidden bullish divergence on this last higher low. I think it's trying another upside move exactly from here, probably back up towards 53, 54, 55, whatever the high is from this quarter, basically. Does it happen, you know, before April begins? I don't know about that, but you know, I do think that it gets another try up towards about, let's just call it low 50s. something like that. Can it actually break out? You really can only validate a breakout here with a monthly closure above 51 and a quarter. Are we going to get that move before the end of this month with only 6 days left to validate that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I think it is a formality. Long term, it very likely does. But let's assume that it does not close above that and validate that breakout in this month of March. Well, I'd probably be looking for April to retest into that region, but probably reject, come back down a little bit. You'll probably see like a weekly higher low or something like that, and then the real try to the upside. If we fast forward about a year from here, I think that you see this thing with like a 6 handle, something like that. But for right now, it's been a pretty epic move. I'm more inclined to say you're gonna spend some time consolidating below these highs and then try that upside move, probably late within this year. But yeah, I'm on a yearly right now for reference. Let's go to a 6 month maybe. 6 months, same thing. Like, this is good. Multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence off this low. I think that you will break through there. It's just, this is a 6 month time frame. Like, one bar is 6 fucking months. So, does this happen in the second half of this year? Probably, if I had to guess. Overall, I do like it. I mean, that's why I own it. Duh. I'd only flip around to being like bearish on it if it came back down below $35. So always got to have an invalidation, but yeah, it's quite far away. So it is what it is, sir. It is what it is. Bill Norblatt says, my system kept me from FOMOing into that quick pump and dump. Bitcoin just had it. Thanks again for the course. Fucking yes. Systems. If there's one fucking thing that you get from me, hopefully it's trend. And then after that, just put it into a system, back test it, and then follow that, assuming that you like the actual results of the back test. Beautiful. Fucking beautiful. Mr. Escobar says, Crown, where would you put $70,000 to work at the moment besides defense? Oh, that's a really good question, man. I guess it would depend on where the rest of your portfolio is allocated, assuming that you have it allocated at all. If you do already own, the major indices like SPY, like triple Qs, these sort of things, I might just hold on to that and kind of mark off some areas for myself for SPY, for example, and say, hey, if SPY pops back up above last week's high, I will buy at market whatever I'm looking for the long term. That's fine. Until then, you're technically supposed to be bearish here because it is a downtrend on the daily and the weekly's back down around those lows. My personal opinion is that I think it probably does, pop back up to the upside here and does reclaim that number, but we don't have that evidence yet. So technically speaking, it's not a validated position until it does. So what I would say, it depends on the rest of your portfolio. Assuming you already have core positions in other assets that you want to own, and like they're the major indices, the safe stuff, I would hold on to that and wait for a resolution of this range. And if it resolves to the upside, just, you can buy a market, whatever the fuck you want. If it resolves to the downside, then I would employ a little bit of patience waiting for SPY to get back down to, 62, 6,300, something like that. And when that happens, set an alert and buy whatever, you're thinking of buying at that time. But, for right now, I'd probably hold tight, assuming that is the situation. Now, if you don't have any core positions, I think the only smart thing in these situations, if you don't have any core positions, again, if you do not, is just buy the boring stuff. So your SPYs, your triple Qs, maybe even your Indus, shit like that. Yeah. Anyways, one moment. Okay, cool. Adam Collane says, BNB. Yeah, we haven't looked at BNB in seems like forever, man. Let's see. Short term, probably corrective rally back up to like 670, 680 region, but is it reversing here? I don't know about that. I think it's kind of like Bitcoin. You're going to be ranging in this lower block territory for a while. The lower block, I kind of already got marked off here. I'd move it actually a little bit higher depending upon this. But basically a block between 725 and 525. So big range there. I think that you're going to fill out that range for a long time. Very, very short term. Oh, you don't care about short term. You're asked about weekly and monthly. So look, I do think you will absolutely test down to about 525 or 550 at some point in Q2 of this year. Will you also have a rally up to like, 720? Possible. Yeah, it's very possible, but I don't think you're going to break out and I don't think you're going to break down. I think it's range bound for a while, similar to Bitcoin. So something like this, I'd be looking for a lot of this action here. And in the short term, would I be looking for upside or downside first? Kind of a hard one here, actually. I don't know, very, very short term, I'll be looking for a test up to 677, but it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, I don't really have a good read on this one short term. Long term, though, I'd feel very confident about that. Freddie M says Lunar weekly ready to break out through to 23 or through 23. Let's see. I believe 23 is the breakout number, and this thing's back above $20, which is pretty epic. Fighting off the rest of the market, I guess, which is a good sign. Is it ready to break out right now? I think there's actually a pretty good, this thing very well could. I would be more biased towards this thing trying to break out rather than consolidating for longer. Maybe this is like a early April move, but whether it's this week, whether it's next week, I don't know. But I do think that if you're going to try a breakout, it comes from here. You got a nice little bastardized version of a cup and handle, and this thing is just ultimately bullish as long as you're above 14.5 bucks, especially, or even 15, let's say. That's a good line in the sand. With the way that this month's closing, yeah, I like it. I think, again, I hold this one. Again, full disclosure, I hold this one a lot, maybe not a lot, but like a decent chunk. And I'm holding it because I think that it's going to go higher. Is it ready to break out this exact week? I don't know. Maybe retest the highs this week, and then next week it breaks out. I think that you get the breakout in April if it's going to happen. And from there, I mean, this thing probably tries to move towards a little bit above 30, something like that. Yeah. I just have no reason to be bearish as long as we're above $15. So that was the initial disposition I took when I took this position. As you probably know, if you were around during that time, and I'm holding it until it breaks below there, or if it gets up to my targets, which are decently higher, I'd say. MG76067, he says AA0I or AAOI. AAOI, that's what it is. Applied Optoelectrics. Cool name. Don't know what it does, though. Does that mean eyes? Opto? Something like that, maybe. Weird one here, because it is above that previous all-time high from July 2017, but it sold off so aggressively from the current high. I'm inclined to say, though, that this is going to be next higher low. And it's a very easy management for this one because it's basically just this week's low. As long as you're above this week's low, let it break out, let it continue to the upside, because objectively, any sort of a closure above 103 will be a closure on new highs. Continuation has to be the most likely thing here. Same thing with the quarterly. This is good. I would be wary that you can and very likely do get a decent pullback in Q2 of this, of this coming quarter, but it should be an opportunity. This would be a bullish bias for new highs, just generally new highs. In the very, very short term, is it ready right now? I think it's more likely to kind of play a little bit more sideways and then try the breakout, probably more of an April thing. But yeah, overall good. I have no reason to be bearish on this thing as long as you're above basically this week's low at $85. Below there, okay, sure, yeah, failure and send it back down to the fucking depths of hell. But until then, this is good. I mean, you got to respect these charts when they are acting well, especially all things considered, because most things are not. Most things are getting hit on the head. So this is one of the good ones, I suppose. Then you're also looking at LITE. Okay, LITE. Lumentum. Okay, another new one. Another one that's doing some crazy shit at the highs here. Okay, so bigger picture, this rally is very close to being done. Maybe you have one more month or 2 more months at most, but you got to be on the trigger finger here. In my opinion, you need to be on the trigger finger here to sell all. Now, do you probably have new highs from here? Yeah. You got hidden bullish divergence 1, 2, 3 drops off of these last few lows. Volatility is already very high, so I don't think this is going to be a screaming move to the upside. But maybe you get past $800. Maybe at most you get like 850 to 880. But I would be very wary here that if you were long previous to this move, it's like 95% of it's done. Extremes on monthly volatility. You just don't see that too often. Monthly RSI at fucking 96, 97. I mean, again, you just don't see that very often. It's probably got some new highs to go. I'm not necessarily bearish on, it's not a bearish chart, obviously, but I do think you got to be extremely cognizant that when this thing turns around, it's going to be a fucking slam down. Like, let's say it gets up to $900, just for example's sake. When it turns around, it's going to slam down from like 900 to fucking 750 before you can even realize what the hell is going on. So if you're already long this thing, yeah, I think you got a little more upside here, but you are trying to squeeze water from a rock at this point. To be honest, it's like, yeah, there's more upside. I wouldn't get too greedy at this point, though. Oh, there we go. Jay Toombs, is the circle a good buy here or better to wait? I'm guessing you got to this a little bit later, but I would absolutely not buy it right now. I think that is coming lower. Andy S says, general TA question. Cool. You mentioned that Tau could go higher and wait for something like a bearish divergence. If you did, how would you include the EMAs in that case? EMAs are not something that you use for bearish divergence. Bearish divergence is a momentum loss sort of thing. EMAs just kind of tells you where your trend is coming in, and a lot of the time will tell you kind of where you should be expecting, you know, you're trending lower highs or you're trending higher lows. So for Tau, for example, you are, I think, hitting some major moving averages. I think it was on the monthly. Yeah, you're kind of around that yellow 21 EMA. So when you're trending in a downtrend, which this is, you'd be expecting your highs around that area. Maybe not precisely on it, although sometimes it does work like that, but, you know, around there. So yeah, bearish divergence. So it's not a moving average thing. That's a momentum loss sort of thing, just to be super, super direct. Dan Robertson says, hey, Crown, options play here. Okay, cool. I sold the 380, 360 put spread on, let's bring this up. I love options. So let's go over this. Okay, you sold the 380, 360 put spread on GLD based off of BBWP, PMRP setup. What is your opinion, TA? I don't know your expiration on that. Look, I think that you're in a bounce phase here for gold. If this is a long-term position, I think terrible. But look, it's high volatility. So you sold the put spread. So that was right there. I do think that you're going to bounce here over the next week, you know, couple of weeks probably. So if this is, you know, 2-3 weeks out, I think you're probably good. You sold the 380, 360 put spread. So yeah, you're out of the money. So you got plenty of time to cover, and you could manage even below right here, 395. 395 is a good pivot for you because below there, yeah, you're, you know, both of your positions probably go in the money and you're real fucked. Or at least your short leg will go in the money, and then, you know, you're going to get pretty fucked there. But yeah, I would say if your expiration is like 2 to 3 weeks out, probably good. If it's longer than that, I think you are playing with fire, because ultimately this thing does want to come further down. Like if we fast forward 6 months from now, at some point, I have a very high expectation that you will see this thing down around like 360. Expectation, wrong word to use, but I think it's a very high probability move. You'll see this thing much lower, much, much lower. This is a top for an extremely long time. So yeah, I would have been, look, if I was playing this, I would have not sold that put spread. I would wait for this bounce to play out and then sell a call spread. The problem with this is that even though I think if you're on that time schedule, you're going to be okay. Yeah, you're April 2 expiration. Yeah, so you're probably fine. I don't think your next move is very likely a bounce continuation here. You know, but I would be a lot more interested in playing a call spread when this thing bounces up. A short call spread, that is. We got Freddie M. He's back in. He's looking at UMAC, higher, low in, or about to break down. It's always a very specific question, but that makes it fun, I guess. Is the higher, low in on the weekly? I'm guessing, would this be it, or are you talking about right here? This is not it right here. No, you got 1, 2, 3 drives of bearish divergence on caretaker's RSI. I think you at least come down, and I believe we said this last time we looked at it too, 1350. And personally, I think that you might even come all the way down to the green 55, because that is 1, 2, 3 drives. So at least 13 and a half. Don't be surprised to see it down at 11 and a half though. That's where I'd be looking for on potential higher lows. Is it good? If it closed out the month like this, maybe not so much. If it closed out the quarter like this, I'd really want to see it close out the quarter above like 15 and a half if I want to be like instantly bullish for new highs in Q2. I'm a lot more inclined to say, no, that's not happening here. This thing just got rejected around the previous all-time high right here. And you're going to do one of these LARP lines where you come down and spend time in the lower blocks. That would be my disposition right there. So it's a higher low in. If you're asking about it exactly right there, no, I don't think so. No, I really don't think so. This thing is a lot more likely to come down from here than it is to bust up once again. Let's see. Vahid Gabel says, "Hey Crown, what are your thoughts on wheel?" Okay, this is just like a random term. I've never actually heard this term. Combining selling cash secured puts with selling covered calls. Okay, so basically you're selling a cash. Okay, so you're selling a naked put, but you basically just keep extra money on the side to short stock if you need. Okay, and then you're selling covered calls, so you're basically long the stock and you're selling out of the money calls. So basically you are selling the wings. You're selling calls and puts, and then you're owning the underlying stock. So in this situation, I actually don't like it that much, unless okay, it depends what you're doing it on. If you have a bullish bias on the stock and your bullish bias is that, yes, upside is more likely, but it's not that bullish. It's not going to be like a volatile breakout. Then yes, doing a covered call strategy is really good. It's actually really, really good. It's probably the best thing you can do there. Selling a put makes your downside even worse. It makes your downside even worse. So you got to be real fucking on the money to cover your downside if it starts to turn against you and you already are long stock. So what you're going to have to do is you'd have to sell all your long stock, then short on top of that. So that's going to be a lot of equity that you're eating up right there. And honestly, if you're just like slightly bullish, I would do the covered call. I would not also add on a short put on top of that. Now, if you didn't own the stock and you wanted to own the stock and you just want to own it from lower, then yeah, do your cash secured put, all good, no problem. But I don't think that that's the right way to do it, man. You're putting yourself potentially in a very risky position. I think you're doing what a lot of people do, which is what I did. And that is you're trying to, you're seeing the matrix for the first time and you're like, oh shit, I can make all this money all these other which ways. Let me just maximize it out. But that's not how you should be looking at options. Options are a risk management tool. And so yes, they can also be used to generate income, which is kind of what you're doing with that covered call. But I think by adding that short put leg, you're potentially going to offer your ass up on the platter for some nice fucking. I'd be careful with that, honestly, man. Like first decide what you want to do, then we can talk about options, option positions to kind of set that up. Cool. Mr. Cowboy NZ says, sir, not sure here is a place, but studying your TA volume was a hard class for me. What is the difference, please, of hidden divergences and just divergence? Okay. Well, a couple of different things there. Volume is not included in the conversation of divergence, by the way, although divergence just in general can relate to anything. It just, one thing is going up, the other thing is going down, basically. A hidden divergence versus regular divergence. Regular divergence, oh God. Okay. Honestly, man, just get caretakers RSI. It'll do it for you. I've explained it so many times, like I don't even know if I can do it anymore. But basically, regular divergences, so regular bullish divergence can only ever happen in a downtrend. And when you're in a downtrend and you're making new lows on price with higher lows on your oscillator, so in this case, the RSI, then you have, and you're comparing confirmed lows versus confirmed lows. Then if the RSI oscillator has a higher low while price has a lower low, you have a divergence in which momentum is weakening to the downside, but price is going further down. Thus, it's more likely to get a bounce. It's the opposite, but equal on bearish divergence. Only ever happens in an uptrend like you see right here. And it's when price makes higher highs with a lower high on the RSI oscillator. And when you have two or more of those confirmed higher highs with lower highs on the RSI, then you have bearish divergence. You're very likely to pull back. Hidden divergences only ever happen on the same side of the current trend. So you can only have hidden bullish divergence on an uptrend, and you can only have hidden bearish divergence on a downtrend. In contrary to regular divergence, hidden divergences for bullish hidden divergence is going to be your higher lows, and for hidden bearish divergence is going to be your lower highs, basically. It's the same sort of methodology there as well, except, again, applied to that trend. So in this case, we have an uptrend and we have price making higher lows with the RSI making lower lows in that uptrend. That's where you're more likely to get higher lows on price, basically. Very nice. We already looked at Tau. I think Tau is probably topping out below 400, but I think it was 398 is my invalidation for flipping around and actually being full on bullish. And, I got to go lash myself after that. Andy says, could I ask another random TA question? Sure. Yeah. How would you draw your fibs on closing basis or include the wicks? Look, you can do both. Both are equally valid. You just need to be consistent. And of course, if you want more volatile, but maybe a little bit more kind of subjectiveness to it, wicks are going to be better. but you're going to catch, kind of crazier moves as well. So there's potentially, more reward if you're using that to, find a quick falling knife, I guess, which probably not the best thing to be doing to begin with, but hey, some people do it. Some people swear by it. All good. If you use closures, then usually a little bit better, but of course you can get a wick, well past your closure on the major fib and it still settles, within that major fib, in which case, it's not broken and like you kind of got to deal with that. But my main thing is you got to be consistent. So don't measure a Fibonacci retracement from a wick high to a closure low, for example. You want to do wick and wick. That's where they're going to be most accurate, together. So yeah. Shit, man. We've been on the stream for a lot longer than usual. That's pretty cool. Let's see. All right. Last one for AAP. And appreciate that. Hoy hoy. Hit the likes. Smash the likes. Smash the fucking smash button. Excuse me. Quarterly on... Yeah, and Caretaker's correct. You can basically get divergences on any oscillator. Although the RSI, in my opinion, is probably the best one. But divergence, Caretaker said it perfectly. The logic is the same. It's just a divergence between price and what your oscillator is doing. If price is going higher and your oscillator is going lower, you got a divergence in just the sheer definition of it. Where do I think silver is going? Probably bouncing like gold, but long-term down, down, down. I think it's topped out for a very long time. All right, XMR quarterly. I think the last we looked at this one is kind of failing, but maybe I have it confused with ZDERP Cash. ZDERP Cash. Let's see. Yeah, don't like this rejection right here. I think ultimately this one does come down to like 225 to 250 in Q2 of this year. Maybe it's April, maybe it's May, maybe it's June. I don't fucking know, but yeah. Crown, you play Crimson Desert? No, I don't, man. I can't get into RPGs. I sacrifice everything else in my life and I just can't do it. I can do first-person shooters. I can do strategy games, kind of, although I still go a little bit too deep into that as well. But yeah, man, RPGs, like it's almost like I don't exist anymore. Like I don't need to eat. I don't need to pee. I don't need to go work out. I just need to play my game and make my avatar look better. That's it, man. That's it. Thomas Powers Media says, my indicator of a Tau top is at 4+ people have asked about it on the same live stream. Not a bad analysis for sure. Definitely something to that. Yeah, man. We can go look at silver really quickly. We'll end it on this though. We got to go to Club Costco, baby. It's Club Costco day. Holy shit. Gonna get fucking wasted on some free Snapples at Costco. Same thing as gold. I think you're in a big bounce phase. I think it's going to bounce, decently higher. You might even get up to like 80 plus, 80, 83. I think it's possible, but ultimately, this is a top for a very long time. I think this thing will, again, if we fast forward a year from now, you're going to see like a 4 handle on this, something like that. 60% of the time, it works every time. Fuck yeah, man. All right. We shall end things on that note. Does Rosie want to say hello? All right, Rosie's going to say hello. All right. She's chewing up my desk earlier, so. All right, come here, pup. Okay, here she is. Thank you for coming in on this live stream. It was very nice. Hey, look at have some respect, Rosie. There you go. All right. Again, thank you for joining everyone. Thanks for joining in, everyone. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll be back on tomorrow with another just regular video and then another live stream on Friday. Very much looking forward to it. And yeah, take care.